AITAH for not wanting much contact with my dad while my parents divorce. Advice needed. First off, I am 20M, and mostly live on my own since I am a university student. However, it is the summer, and even though I was preferring to stay at my apartment because of how toxic our household can become due to marital tensions between my mother and father, I chose to stay at home for the week of my birthday so I could work, as well as hang out with my friends. Secondly, the divorce has been long in the making because of how manipulative and emotionally abusive my father is. He is bipolar, depressed, frequently uses steroids, and takes Adderall even though he does not have ADHD, which is strange. He will take meds for something he does not have, but refuses to try any bipolar medications. Additionally, my father has some codependency issues, and from what I can recall from our family therapist, some form of covert narcissism. This has resulted in him constantly putting my mom in situations where she is not allowed to get away, to the point where he will follow her wherever she goes, find ways into rooms she might lock herself in to get away from him, and occasionally he will just grasp her firmly. Additionally, it seems like he has been trying to use my sister and I as a means to hanging out with my mom, or just to talk about how terrible he feels, or how sorry he is for everything. On Mother's Day, my mom was wanting to spend some time by herself, and he kept trying to pressure me into going and asking her to hang out with us so she would have to spend time with him. Now that itself is mild, but what he started doing is significantly worse. For example, my mom does not want him in the house, and though I have expressed to him that I don't want to be involved in a divorce at all, he refuses to let me be alone. I said no to getting dinner with him and my sister, which caused him to show up the next day in the morning when my mom was not home, literally waking me from sleep to try to talk to me. However, he tried to use this moment to get me to eat with him again, and I said no because I was going to work soon. He didn't like the answer, so he ended up texting me about how he wants to see me before he goes back to his place an hour away. Parents are still married, but in the process of getting a divorce. However, when I said I wasn't interested, and just wanted to do it some other time, he texted my sister to get her to guilt me into eating with him. Which for some reason I did. I get there, it's incredibly awkward, and he just starts the conversation with, "I have destroyed this family," going on to say how he's suicidal, and he doesn't know what to do, and I keep telling him, I don't know what to say, but he won't get the hint. So finally, when I noticed he started to seem hurt by my lack of communication, I just said, "If it makes you feel any better, I'm high," so that doesn't exactly help with conversation. For context, I wasn't high, I had a few hits off of a THC pen, but nothing that actually would prevent me from having conversation, but still he laughed it off. However, when I finally left the dinner, he decided that wasn't enough conversation, so he tried to convince my mom that out of nowhere I suddenly had a drug problem and that as my parents they needed to have an intervention at our house. So I pulled up back home, see his car, and am forced to engage with him, and I don't want to because I know that he only did that to be around my mom and the house and feel like he was still in control, because he was talking about that over our 20-minute dinner. Anyways, it ended with me having to tell him, I don't want to be involved in this, and honestly I really just don't want to talk to either of you right now, which seemed to hurt him but I had to say it. However, next day comes around and he tells me that he is going to be suddenly staying in town throughout the week, and tries to guilt me into staying the night at his place, to which I again declined. Then, he asks me what gym I work out at, to which I had to ask why he wanted to know that, and he said it was so he could just work out with me whenever. Oh, what's even more delightful, is without telling me or my mother, he suddenly just appeared at our house saying he was going to stay here indefinitely because he's not allowing the divorce, and he thinks it's unfair that he has to stay somewhere else while my mom stays at the house, even though mind you his boss gave him a free 2-story house with no rent to stay in as long as he needs, so there is no actual inconvenience on his part other than he can't demand to see us whenever he wants. See, my problem here is not him wanting to spend time with me, it's more that he's trying to force himself into situations where we are spending time together. It feels manipulative, it feels gross, and I feel bad as a person because I myself am bipolar, and I never, ever want to behave the way he is, but I can see how in my past I might have been similar, albeit nowhere near the same scale. So, AITAH. TLDR, I'm a 20-year-old student who went home for my birthday despite my parents' toxic relationship. My father, who is bipolar, depressed, and has a history of emotional abuse and manipulation, is refusing to accept their pending divorce. He tries to involve me in their issues and forces interactions, like pressuring me to have dinner with him and my sister. He even falsely accused me of having a drug problem to manipulate my mom and stay at the house. His behavior feels manipulative and controlling, and I'm struggling with guilt and boundaries. AITAH for wanting to avoid involvement.